Welcome to channel 69, and you have Big Hurt with the Ghetto Report.
What's up? Big Hurt back with Ghetto Report. We're gonna jump right into this thing because we got a lot of news to talk about. We want to talk first about that double murder that happened up in New York, reportedly over noise. You know, this noise mitigation thing in New York is big. That's why they have the noise mitigation with the construction companies saying you can't work past a certain time because if they work in these lower economic communities, then the tenants get mad. And noise will drive you crazy sometimes. I remember when I was in the maximum security prisons and dudes howling on the gallery over there, yo, send that tuna. It was driving me crazy. I'm ready to come out and, but we ain't gonna digress. And noise mitigation is big, so reportedly these neighbors was having a feud over some noise. And one of the neighbors came down to ask the other neighbor, could he turn the noise down? And then it got heated. And everybody's seen the video in New York. The guy who was an ex-CO, his name was Jason Pass, pulled out a gun, shot his neighbor, killed the man, I think he was 47 years old, and killed his stepson, who was 27 years old. Now, if anybody's seen the video, they know it was a horrific incident, caught on tape. The man pressed for the elevator real calmly and just left us. He had it up to here and it was over. He decided his own fate, basically. A couple of days later, I think on Wednesday, police ran into him. They said allegedly that he charged at them with a knife and they shot him. So he was mortally wounded and killed as well. But we at the Ghetto Report was debating that whole incident. You know what I'm saying? We understand how this noise can drive people crazy and all that. We don't know the specifics yet, but we do understand that from looking at the video, we see where a woman tried to intervene and pulled the gentleman back, and at that point, Jason pulled out a gun and fired at the dude. So we were saying basically, we know that she was trying to quell the situation, but maybe if she hadn't intervened, the gentleman and his son would not be dead today because even though the dude had a knife and he was up on him, he wouldn't have had a chance to pull that ratchet out had she not pulled the gentleman away. So, when you intervene and trying to quell these incidents, you should really try to do that before the man came out the apartment. Because once they're out in the apartment and they heat and they heavy in it, it's safe to get away from the scene. Because they ran to the apartment and locked the door, and they maybe should have did that, not even coming out. But it was a horrific incident in New York, and the perpetrator, Jason Poole, was murdered by the police allegedly after he pulled the knife. And we just think that is a teachable moment when neighbors are complaining about the noise and people are not being considerate. And when you're trying to quell a violent incident, I think the whole situation was horrific, but it is indeed a teachable moment, and we're hoping that people will learn from that incident and really stop the violence. And in more the words of Rodney King, can we all get along? We're gonna move along. We want to talk about the congressman from New York, Jamal Bowman, and how he got caught up in that fire alarm pulling situation. We don't know how he got caught up in that. We remember when we was kids, and we used to pull the fire alarm boxes and run so we could see the fire trucks come to the building and all that. We stopped doing that as we got older and became adults. The congressman is very much an adult and seasoned. Even though he said that it was an accident, he did plead guilty to falsely activating a fire alarm. We want that to be another teachable moment because Congress was in session and they were debating a bill. He felt like it was not going his way. So whether or not it was an accident or not, people believe that he did it on purpose to hold up the vote. Now I'm saying, listen, if you don't have the votes and you're in Congress and they voting against you, getting arrested and being found guilty of a misdemeanor and all that is not going to stop the vote. If you don't have the votes, they're going to vote. When they come back in session, you're going to lose the vote anyway. So I think it was a stupid move if he did it on purpose, pulling the fire alarm to hold up the vote, because you acting like a juvenile now and you're supposed to be representing people. So everything's not going to go your way. That's the problem with politics today. A lot of these politicians, they get too personal. You represent the people and you represent the cause. You can't get personal with these issues if you really for the people. But if you for yourself, that's when it gets personal. I think we need to really look at these politicians who go out of their way to do juvenile things and make the issue personal as opposed to for the people. So I don't know if Jamal Bowman was doing that, but I still think it was a foolish incident, having to plead guilty to a misdemeanor, falsely activating the fire alarm. Come on, he stopped doing that 30 years ago, Jamal. I mean, you should have got that out of your system too. We want to also talk about a question that the podcaster Vlad had raised. Now, he was up on, I think, the Breakfast Club, and he was talking about the war going on with Israel and Palestine. And he was talking about, in his opinion, the most famous Jew on the planet is Drake. And the most famous Palestinian on the planet is DJ Khaled. So he was saying he was wondering why neither of them have spoken out against the war. They were, whatever side, haven't said anything. They remained mute on the issue. So he was implying and insinuating that they were afraid to speak out because it may hurt their careers. So we at the Ghetto Report was debating that, And listen, they're not obligated, in my opinion, Big Hurt's opinion, they're not obligated to speak out against anything. They can speak about what they want to speak about. They're grown men and they're entertainers. So I understand that they may not be politicians or even though they're from them nationalities, I don't think they're obligated to speak out about that. Some people in office felt that they are obligated to speak out about it, just like when injustices happen to African Americans, we African Americans, most of us, definitely Big Hurt, we speak out against that, like the whole Black Lives Matter movement and all that. So they saying because they're from this segment of the population, they're obligated to speak out. And that's what Vlad was saying, basically, that they're obligated to speak out. So we want to know your thoughts on that take and debate that in your cribs, in your houses, with your friends, your family, and holler back at the Ghetto Report and let us know if Drake or DJ Khaled, y'all feel are obligated to speak out about the war in Israel with Palestine. Just let us know your thoughts on that. And you can be as candid as possible. We all adults, we can take it. But we just want to know what y'all think on that matter right there. Now, we also want to ask a question.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
When they finished with this case and they saw who killed Willie Buckhead, I want them to investigate more. Where's Foxy Brown at? Don't say it's like she on the back of a milk crate. She missing. Nobody ain't seen her in a minute. But we want to talk to Foxy. We want Foxy to holler at the Ghetto Report because there's a lot of allegations going around about sexual abuse and how she was allegedly sexually abused when she was underage by certain celebrities. Now, we're not going to name any celebrities because we don't know if any of this stuff is notorious or not. But you know, the internet has been going crazy and they posting a lot of things about Foxy said this, Foxy said that this happened or that happened. So we don't want Foxy to holler at the Ghetto Report so we can hear it from the horse's mouth. I ain't talking about the weaving, I'm talking about, that's the saying, the horse's mouth. So holler at the Ghetto Report, Foxy, and let us know if there's any validity to all these alleged allegations that's going around. So holler at the Ghetto Report, let Big Hurt know. Big Hurt, I get it out to the people. I ain't got no problem spreading the news as long as it can be verified. And it don't matter who it's about, but we need verification first because we don't want to slander anybody and, just mess up anybody's reputation with a false allegation. But we definitely are interested and we want to know about that. We want to talk about Remy, right? Remy was on Drink Champs and we was debating that as well. Remy was talking about how people will be asking for handouts. Now, Big Hurt know about that because people be running up on Big Hurt. I ain't even got a lot of bread in my pocket to ask for handouts. And, I peel here and there. But what Remy was basically saying was there's been people that have come to ask her for handouts. Instead of giving them a handout, she tried to give them a hookup. What she's trying to say is that she was trying to put them in a position where they could feed themselves and not have to keep coming back and forth and asking for help from her or a handout, money, whatever they was asking for. Now, I understand what Remy was saying because it's like the old saying, if you give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. Now that saying comes from a Chinese philosopher who I think the gentleman created Taoism. But in any event, I believe that saying because it makes no sense to just peel and give somebody money every day and they're going to keep coming back and forth. When you can teach them a skill or put them in a position, I think we're talking about giving them a job where they can feed themselves. And those people who are lazy and don't want to work, because that's what I think she was implying, like they don't want to do no work, they just want the handout. That makes no sense. Regardless if you're a celebrity, you're rich, you're poor, people are people, right? You don't want nobody running down on you every day asking, yo, let me hold something, let me hold something. You're going to be like, listen, you're going to get tired too, especially when they're an adult. It's different if they're a kid. But when they're an adult does not want to support another adult, unless they family, their spouse or something like that, their children. But nobody, even if you don't support your children, you want them to do on their own. So I understand exactly what she was saying, and I agree. I'd rather teach a man how to fish as opposed to giving him a fish. So I understand what Remy was saying, and all those that sit waiting for a handout, y'all should try to take the hookup. Nobody has to give you anything. Nobody owes anybody anything. So if somebody's trying to hook you up and teaching you a skill or putting you in a position where you can feed yourself, by all means, you should always take that. That's just word of advice from Big Hurt and everybody at the Ghetto Report. It's always good to feed yourself. And we're going to talk about some podcasters, the people giving opinions. We was talking about Nori and how he was on the Joe Budden's podcast several months back. I think Queen's Flip was up there, and it was just them three debating that podcast money. You know that podcast money is heavy. So Nori was feeling himself that day. I must agree, he was talking Cash Money shit. And he was basically saying how he's up, he all the way up, and dudes be saying, yo, listen, like he wasn't getting a lot of money, yo. He was asking what type of watch you got, because I got 15 of those, what type of car you got, Nori said, because I got 2 of those. So he was feeling himself. But he said some things that us at the Ghetto Report was looking back on and saying, listen, you really don't know what you was talking about. Because basically he said, there's a lot of rappers running into the podcast game and they don't know what they're doing. He said some are trying to talk about sports, some are doing comedy. He said when that don't work after 3 weeks, then they try and go do cooking. He was trying to clown people that's trying to get in on the action, basically. And when he was saying that, we thought he was maybe throwing jabs at Mace and Cam. But you see how that turned out. They got a big bag recently. So we want to say at the Ghetto Report, basically, don't let nobody discourage you from chasing the bag or going after whatever you want to do. There are no real authors out here. The only real author is God. God's the only one that writes the story. Everybody else that's trying to write their little story or write your story, they don't know what they're doing, because it's not up to them to write their story. It's up to you to write your own story. Even though Nas said it was written, God the one who wrote it. He forgot to leave that off. God the one who wrote it. It was written, God wrote it. So forget what Nori was saying. If you want to get into the podcast game, if you want to get into any game, don't let nobody discourage you. Big Hurt do what the F he want to do, know what I'm saying? Big Hurt do it all. You see Big Hurt be hustling all over the place. So I'm telling you, nobody discourages Big Hurt. I want to do the news, I'm doing the news for the Ghetto Report. I want to do a comedy show, I'm doing a comedy show. I want to hustle all day, I'm hustle all day. Don't let nobody discourage you, because the only author out here that counts is God. That was another edition of the Ghetto Report. It's Big Hurt and I'm out.
1 second, one second, y'all bugging. 1 second, you cops on me all the time, you acting funny. Give me a second, easy peasy. I'ma start paying for these commercial breaks. Give me a second. What's up, it's easy peasy, I'm back. Yo, I got the crazy deal for y'all this week. I got the t-shirts. I got the Baby is a Bitch t-shirt, you know what I'm saying? Signed by Gilly the King. These is autographed. Now, these are authentic joints. Anybody else got them in the street? They bullshit. I got tons of them. Gilly just signed them yesterday. Baby is a Bitch t-shirts. These is $10. You can get these. These is online. They not online or nothing. They calling me with the orders now. Easy peasy. Baby is a Bitch t-shirts. Get it from me now. I gotta answer the phone, but I'm gonna get back to you. Easy peasy and I'm out.